In other Jeff Reinebold related news, Hamilton Tiger Cats linebacker Simoni Lawrence took issue with his former coach for saying he had failed to produce any, quote, big plays, close quote, during the Ticats' oh-fer start. Lawrence called Reinebold, quote, fake as bleep, end quote. The Ticats are 0-3 after another quiet showing from Lawrence. So does Reinebold have a point?
I think he absolutely does. And it's not just Simoni Lawrence. He called out some other guys on that Hamilton defense, veteran guys like Dylan Wynn and Micah Johnson, who have not been producing those big plays either. But right now, Simoni Lawrence sticks out like a sore thumb because we know just how impactful he can be when he's on. One of the best defensive players in the league. And he's not done much except, a controversial hit this season, right? There's no sacks, no interceptions, no forced fumbles, nothing of that nature, which is usually his bread and butter, right? He's maybe not at the top in terms of tackles, but he's always at the top when it comes to defensive playmaking. And he's been not only not able to do that in games. I watched that Hamilton game. I couldn't have told you if Simoni Lawrence was on the field. He was a non-factor. He's completely disappeared. He needs to step up his game. Absolutely. I'm sure Simoni Lawrence doesn't want to hear this, right? He did not react well, in my opinion, to Jeff Reinebold's comments. And he started bringing up old tweets of Reinebold, praising him for success in years past. I don't care about that, Simoni. This is a what have you done for me lately sport. And right now you haven't done much and your team is suffering. So step it up and get back to the tremendous player we know you can be.
First of all, it was surprising to see Lawrence shoot back on a game day. We got to remember, that's when that tweet happened, right? It was before they kicked off against the Blue Bombers in Winnipeg in a Grey Cup rematch. So I thought he might save it and wait and keep his focus on the game. That didn't happen, perhaps impacted where his focus was. I think on the other side of this, though, teams are game planning against Lawrence. And you talk to some people around the league who have watched the game film. There haven't necessarily been a ton of plays that have come the way of Lawrence and been right in his face. Is he a great defender that should be making plays away from the ball when it's gone away from him? Yes, I would totally agree. Does he have eye-popping stats that have had him in the conversation for most outstanding defensive player in the past through 3 games? No, but I also don't think he's played horribly. And overall, that unit in Hamilton, the defense in particular, is not the reason that they're 0-3. It's Dane Evans turning the football over 9 freaking times, JC. We've talked about it on the podcast. 6 interceptions now, 3 lost fumbles. That's the issue. The defense has been put in some difficult positions. And in my mind, really, the key cause to the 0-3 start is Evans turning it over. I know some of those interceptions have bounced off receivers' hands and they should have been caught, and those guys got to help them out. But that, to me, is the main issue. And then the secondary one is the offensive line. The defense is not the issue in Hamilton. The special teams definitely need to be better as well. And they got to find a way to protect Evans better. And even if Evans is under pressure, he's got to take care of that ball better. Or at some point here, the Ticats, if they go 0-4, 0-5, 0-6, like if they keep losing here and it goes back to 2017 and the Ticats end up 0-8, what happened then? Zach Caleros was benched, making over $500,000 in favor of Jeremiah Masoli, who is now the franchise quarterback in Ottawa. And there's going to be a lot of scrutiny on that decision to move away from Masoli and go from Evans if Evans doesn't start to take care of the football.
You're absolutely right, Dunk. The offense is the issue there. I'm really intrigued to see how soon that hook gets pulled out for Evans, because I think it's creeping up. Now, I don't have a tremendous amount of faith in the fact that Matthew Schultz is the next guy. I know there's some around the league who like him. I don't see him as a potential franchise guy, but I am really intrigued by their third guy on the depth chart, Jamie Newman out of Wake Forest. This is a guy who, entering into what would have been his senior year of college, was getting first round NFL draft hype. coming out of Wake Forest, transferred to Georgia, then decided to sit out the year because of the COVID pandemic, thinking his draft stock would be unaffected. It was a terrible gamble. Someone gave him bad advice. He went undrafted and couldn't catch on in the NFL, but has all the talent in the world. I wonder if Evans struggles and then Schultz doesn't necessarily step up. If we see Newman by the end of the year, and he's another one of these young quarterbacks that is potentially the next guy in the CFL.
Yeah, that's a bit of a far reach in my mind, but it's not out of the question right now with how Evans has been unable to take care of the football. I think you're definitely right that it's getting closer to that time where they're going to have to say, hey, we got to take care of the ball game, man, because you're just not securing the football, and we can't be turning it over and putting our defense in bad positions and flipping field position quickly with the turnovers that you've had. And they signed Schultz for a reason. He was a guy that has experience. Maybe he doesn't have that franchise guy capability, but I mean, nobody would have said that about Cody Fajardo before he went in there for the Riders. So we don't know, especially with a competent team around him. This was my major question mark coming into the season for the Ticats, was choosing Evans and him being the unquestioned starter there, because that had never been the case. He always, for better or for worse, and maybe unfairly against Evans, had Masoli to lean on. And if Evans wasn't playing well, they would go back to Masoli. But through those years, Masoli was the lead guy. He was the guy that started the season in 2019. Yes, Masoli had the ACL injury, and Evans took that juggernaut of a team to the Grey Cup. But Evans struggled in the Grey Cup. Anytime the pressure seems to be cranked up, Evans doesn't play his best football. In 2021, the training camp battle leads to Masoli being chosen as the starter, and he was the guy that started the majority of the season at quarterback. And I hate saying it, sounds like I'm banging on the guy, but there were a lot of people that questioned Evans' ability to be a leader after that game where he got hurt in Toronto, and there were tears on the sidelines, and they felt like you shouldn't see that from your franchise quarterback. I understand we're all emotional people, and we've been through different things like that where we feel those emotions, but I'm just relaying what CFL personnel people told me based on that one instance. Tears, I don't think necessarily indicate the ability to be a franchise quarterback or not, but it was something that stuck out to people. So ultimately here, and the Ticats won't come out and say it, but Orlando Steinauer is going to be held accountable for that decision because he was the guy that was elevated to president of football operations along with the head coach. And for whatever reason, it's been hard to figure it out or get many people to talk about it. They decided to go with Evans. Some people think it had to do with age and him being younger. And then other people don't really have a reason why they let Masoli go to Ottawa. And look what he's done. Yeah, they don't have any wins, but he looks like he's been in that Paul Police offense for 10 years and has completely changed the whole feeling and energy in the building there in Ottawa. So if this oh-fer start continues, there are going to be a lot of questions raised and pressure put on people there in Hamilton. Now they get the Edmonton Elks at home, a winless team that is on the ropes right now, but the Elks have played better football in the last couple of weeks. They played Calgary very tight, who is at the top of the West Division right now. Saskatchewan, who's supposed to compete for a Grey Cup, they took down to the wire. So this is not going to be easy, even though the Elks record says 0-3.
Mm-hmm. And I think the thing you touched on that we haven't talked about enough is the role of the offensive line in this decline for Evans, because Masoli is the type of mobile guy that if you have protection issues up front, he can sort of make some plays happen regardless. You can roll him out, you can play action, you can do all these different things with Jeremiah Masoli that can compensate for protection issues. Dane Evans isn't that same type of guy. He's more of a statuesque pocket passer, and their offensive line has been horrendous throughout this start to the season, really struggled in every single game with 3 different combinations thus far. And if you look at Evans and his history of not performing under pressure, that goes both for pressure in the situation and pressure from the defense, because those Grey Cups he's struggled in, that was with a lot of pressure from the likes of Jackson Jeffcoat and Willie Jefferson coming from the Bombers defense. That disrupted those games for Dane Evans as well. We're seeing that thus far in the CFL season.
Well put, my man. I do not want to discredit Reinebold and his analysis because he's watched more CFL film than we ever will, and he knows the league really well. But I kind of felt like it was an unwarranted shot, to be quite honest, at Lawrence.